Hey everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. If you're new here, my name is Anthony. I am a business profit advocate. On this show, we interview entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, and just people doing cool things. So, for example, today we're meeting with Steve Spiro, a fourth degree black belt entrepreneur and master connector with over 30,000 LinkedIn connections from building his first business right out of college to inspiring professionals worldwide. Steve shares his journey of breaking barriers, fostering authentic connections, and empowering others to step out of their comfort zone. How you doing this morning, Steve?
I'm doing great. What's going on, everyone? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. Good to
Yeah,
see you.
I love the energy. Where are you
Absolutely.
calling in from at? Where are you at?
I'm in Stamford, Connecticut, so the northeast of the states.
Okay. You
And
getting
right
any?
here, right now, it's a little rainy and it was a little snowy. We woke up to this morning.
That's what I was gonna ask if you guys been getting any snow yet. We had our first couple flurries a couple days ago, but nothing stuck
Yeah,
yet.
nothing stuck, just a little, and it's already gone by now. It was on the ground for an hour or two until the rain kind of washed it away.
I've never been up in your neck of the woods. What hobbies or what do you recommend people do when they're up there?
Well, I'm like about 45 miles northeast of the city itself. So, I mean, the city just is so many things to do there, but I love to eat. I'm a big foodie. So going into the city and having a really good meal, nobody makes Italian food like they do in the city here. So, I mean, especially good pizza. So lots of things, whether it be Indian, there's so many different cultures here. So we have incredible food. So that's it. I'm foodie.
Sold. Got it. I'll be right there. That sounds awesome. I love all that. So what can you tell us about, about you? What do you do? What's a master connector for those of us that don't know?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I was born in the Bronx and picked on and bullied, learning disabled, dyslexic, and had a really low self esteem for a very long time. But I did have talent. My dyslexia kind of got me to be a little creative problem solver. When I'm going into advertising marketing, as you mentioned in the bio, kind of right out of college, and had a very illustrious career. But eventually met a very successful entrepreneur through a good friend I worked with who took me at his wing, took on a mentoring role, got me on a path of self development, books, audios, networking, and really challenged me to meet three strangers every day. And New York may have great food, but you talk to strangers in New York, you're gonna get shot, kidnapped, or killed. But I did it, stretched me, got me out of my comfort zone big time, and started amassing a network. And as I did that, LinkedIn kind of started coming around as well. Grew a huge network on there, 30,000 connections, and I think I'm probably 20,000 plus in my phone itself, connections, contacts wise, and people started asking me to speak. And so, I do a variety of things, and I don't want to get into all that. Maybe we will as we go. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, obviously do consulting, but when people would ask you what you do, or at least me, they would be like, I don't get it. I'm like, just call me the master connector. And that needs seemed to stick. So that's kind of where that came from. The master connector, just a way of kind of, it's a sort of a brand, a personal brand. It's not a business per se, although we do have the master connector show and I've used the name, but it's really just a way. And I'd rather be called the master connector versus the master networker because connection, true human connection is so much more valuable than just networking. So that's kind of the deal. We could dig into that more if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, you spoke about being, naturally shy and introverted and going out and talking to three people a day. What tips do you have for other people that are, maybe a little bit more shy, maybe less likely to go out and talk to themselves or meet new people, or actually, like you said, make real connections?
Well, first of all, even in New York, I find if you break the ice and say something, just have enough courage to say something, so many people just open up. And I'm at the gym a lot every day, pretty much. And even the guys or people that are in the gym with their hoodie and they got the headset on and they got the scowl and they'll, it's funny. I might tap them or just get eye contact. I kind of go like this, lift up the headset. They lift up the headset, take the hoodie down, the huge smile. It's funny. So just break the ice and just be naturally curious, no agenda, curious about people, ask questions. I like to say, where you from? What do you do? And then, after that, we dig layers and upon layers is we should stay in touch. The biggest, easiest way as an introvert to be dynamic speaker, and I come straight out of the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, to be interesting to people is to be interested in them. So not being interesting, but interested. And in the book, it talks about this guy who was at a cocktail party speaking to this highfalutin, high society person, and later got feedback that that person that knew the high society person told a mutual friend, oh, he's the most incredible conversationalist. Meanwhile, this gentleman said like 3 words and just listened and seemed interested. So be naturally interested, be naturally curious, ask questions, not like you're interrogating them, and you'll be amazed how easy it is to meet people and make new connections.
Yeah, and I can't harp that book enough. It's a once a year read for me. I think it should probably be required reading in high school because everybody can benefit from making better
Oh
connections. It
yeah,
doesn't matter what you're doing. If you can
no
communicate
doubt.
and you can, like you said, make an actual connection, not just a one-off conversation, you'll stand
Yeah,
out. It'll take you places you wouldn't imagine it would.
no doubt. I think
So,
they say in the book that people will pay way more money for people that have interpersonal skills versus technical skills. It's a
mm.
fact. It's a known fact.
Get better at remembering people's names too. What does he say? The sweetest sound in any language is your own name.
Your is your own name. That's the best word. The person's favorite word is their name, and the most important topic is themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's definitely truth there. It's just human nature. So, how do you think? Because you're four-time black belt. How do you feel that your background in martial arts, particularly the discipline mindsets developed? How do you think that's changed your approach to business and personal growth?
Yeah, I mean it's changed everything for me because I learned in the martial arts a lot of things. I learned persistence. I learned to persevere. I learned that if you don't quit, you win. I mean, I started the martial arts with a lot of people, and I only made black belt because I stuck with it. They, didn't quit and did the work, and had a mentor, sensei, coach, whatever, that helped me, and I listened to him, and I pretty much outworked everyone. That was another one I learned that if you outwork people, you'll out earn them. The power of work ethic, resilience. I mean, the power of not just really the strength within your physically, but mentally. I mean, we used my sensei, my martial arts instructor. I hope he's not hearing this because he'll probably come and kick my butt. But I'm gonna say something. He was a mean, you know what? I mean, he was, but I appreciated it. But he and literally lived in we trained in this first story, one story only storefront. It was flat blacktop roof, and in the middle of the summer, he closed the doors. By the way, there was no windows; it was just a plexiglass window and a door that had wood over it, and no back. There was a back door, but he kept that closed too. And he literally would close the door so we had no circulation whatsoever. And it wasn't just physically, mentally, and just being able to realize, if you could stick with it and that mental perseverance, and then often he put the heat on in the middle of the winter. And these were times, and I'm not trying to say I'm the guy who like, hey, I was walking barefoot uphill to get to school kind of thing. But I mean, he was like, we back then you weren't allowed to even wipe sweat off your brow. If he saw you in the middle class doing that, give me 50 push-ups. I mean, crazy stuff. But it really helped on the mental, strength and persistence. And, so when things happen and, a little tough, yeah, I know how to just stick in there and know that eventually it's going to work out. It will. You got to just hang in there. And so there's a lot of great lessons, but that was a big one for me.
Yeah, mental toughness. It's super important, and it's almost becoming a cliche because people are starting to realize that being comfortable, being uncomfortable, that goes with anything. It's whether
Mhm.
you're not allowed to wipe your brow and it's super uncomfortable, or if you're in a sales situation that maybe you've never been in before, and it's just kind of put your head
Right.
down and get through it, figure it out as you go. But you've mentioned turning struggles into, superpowers. There's a lot of people out there. We're all dealing with our own stuff. We all have our own shortcomings or perceived shortcomings where we might be getting in our own way. So what advice would you give somebody trying to turn their perceived weaknesses into strengths?
Well, another favorite book of mine is How to Win. Besides How to Win Friends, is Think and Grow Rich or Master Key to Riches. And in that book, Think and Grow Rich, there's a great quote. It's in every adversity lies a seed of equal or greater benefit. And I believe that, and I've seen it. And I didn't think much about it back. I'm a little older than you, Anthony, and I don't know if there was testing. If there was, I didn't take it, but I knew that there was something different about me in that learning disability. But what it did is I learned how to be a creative problem solver and work around challenges just instinctively through persistence, through just thinking differently. And I'm the guy that I learned all of the computer programs that I do, including Canva these days, which it's not super intuitive. Canva, no knock on Canva, it's a great tool, but it's not, to me, it's not intuitive. but I was able to self teach myself Photoshop and Illustrator, and I could be having a graphic design background, and of course PowerPoint and some of the others basic programs. I self taught myself, and just through persistence, I'll get a IKEA furniture back in the day, and you know, I don't look, I can't read the instructions. It's just not how I could do it, and I just start putting together, and I figure out usually it's pretty darn good. Maybe one of the shelves is upside down, or maybe I'll be left with a few screws. I'm like, I wonder. But in general, I do a pretty good job with it, and it's just from just being persistent and figuring it out, and I feel like that's been a great asset for me in general in business and life, because rather than kind of giving up, you just, okay, let's figure out, okay, if there's a boulder in front of me, all right, we're either going to climb over it, go around it, go under it. We're going to break through it. We're going to figure a way through it. It's not going to give up until we make it happen. And it comes back to the same persistence, but being a creative problem solver, not just, continually knocking my head against the wall. I mean, it happened last night. My wife, she's having problems with her iPhone, and and I don't pat myself on the back, but I just, all right, okay, let's try this. That didn't work. Okay, let's try this. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, we finally figured it out, right? Sometimes it's just restart the phone. That wasn't the situation here, but kind of like that, right? We had to delete the app and reinstall it, and that worked, right? So just trying stuff, right? I heard it said, you can't steer a parked car. You just got to move, and then through that, you're going to figure it out.
Yeah, yep. It takes all kinds. So your view of the world, your opinion, it matters. Test it, see if it works. If it doesn't, great. Now you know. Take a slightly different approach. You're not going to approach the same situation as everybody else. So use that to your advantage. There's definitely truth there. So you've said there's power in leading with your vulnerabilities. Can you share a moment when embracing vulnerabilities helped, you connect with somebody on a deeper level?
Yeah, it happened the other day, and I don't know, maybe it'll happen with you on this podcast. We'll see. But I was on another podcast getting interviewed, and the gentleman on the podcast, we're talking, and he's asking questions, and I shared about some of my challenges, my vulnerability, the being a bully, being bullied, or the dyslexia. I don't remember, or maybe it was a combination that I was open to sharing, exposing some of those things about myself, and I'm very often I do that, right? I lead with it because I feel like it kind of level plays everything, right? It level sets. And so this guy, gentleman named John, he's on there, and all of a sudden he's like, I feel compelled to tell a story. And he started telling a story, and all of a sudden his eyes are welling up, and you could tell he's holding back tears majorly. And pretty much a teardrop may have came down. And this guy is a strong, very sort of a little bit on the stoic, good humor, but he got emotional. And I said to him on air, I said, John, has that ever happened before in air? He's like, never. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm doing a good job here. But it's just that ability of being able to just ask questions and share from the heart and be interested in people, and people don't start to open up. And when they open up, it's like, to me, what happens is the two kids are playing in the sandbox together versus the adults where you just, they're kind of, yeah, everyone's got their guard up, right? And it took a long time for me to get here, Anthony, because I was so insecure and so broken as a human. When you're wounded, the only thing you're thinking about is self-preservation. You're in protection mode because anyone gets near you or understands your weakness, or they're going to attack and make it where if there's a wound, they're going to stick their hand in the finger in the wound and kind of move around and make you even more painful. There's that fear of that. But eventually I started to get healed and realized, you know what? There's power in this. And I think it's a message that the world could hear but as men especially, we need to hear it. Eventually I'll get to do a TEDx talk, and I believe that'll be the nature of it and talking about that. And I think the world needs to hear it, but men need to hear it because we're trained as young boys, don't show emotion, right? And by the way, when I was in the martial arts and I was looking at the martial arts, they told me that basically one of the things that they encourage is to show no emotion, show no pain. I'm like, I am so in because that is me. I'm perfect. That is great because I had learned how to block out pain because I'd been so wounded, and showing no emotion was totally part of my DNA at that point. So, but I realized that it only takes you so far, and to really create real human connection, you got to be authentic and lead with those vulnerabilities, and people start to open up, and then walls come down.
Yeah, that's that's really timely, real serendipitous. Yesterday, I was actually having a call with a gentleman I met back in August. He's a business coach. We talked, and then we just randomly reconnected again for another one-on-one, kind of touching base. And he's at a crossroads where he's not sure if he wants to mostly focus on what he's been doing. You know, he likes the money, everything's good, but he's been going through a bit of a health struggle. And listening to him talk about it, it kind of mirrored mine, the stuff that I'm going through. And then, he had real life examples of friends of his that have, not made it through that. And he had a very similar story saying, hey, I'd like to talk to more men because this is kind of something that we kind of backburner or we hide, or like what you were saying. So I think more people are having those conversations and being a little bit more vulnerable. And I think that's important because if you have an open wound and you hide it, it's not going to get better. It's just going to fester. So so awesome. So I guess as a master connector, keynote speaker, inspiration, everything that you're doing and all the years you've been doing it, what's your favorite thing? What's your like top tier? This is what I love about it.
Impact, making an impact on people, right? I heard it said that true success is not how many things you have or how much money you've been able to amass. It's how many people are better off because you were here. And so true impact, right? And so, I love, as I said, eating. I'm a huge foodie. I love traveling because you get to try things from that particular location. And if I could take eating and traveling and speaking and inspiring people as a huge, real, purpose and passion for me, I could put them together. That's great. So that's really the ultimate goal, is to do a lot more of that, be paid to travel the world, speak and inspire and be a beacon of light. But the main purpose behind it is making impact. And, the power of mentorship has been incredible for me, and I've been able to pay that forward. But perhaps the ability to touch people's lives, to me, it's the ultimate gift that you can give people, right? And the reason I like to be called an inspirational speaker versus a motivational speaker is because motivation is the inside job, and you can't really motivate somebody. You can maybe get them, but you can inspire them to take action, and hopefully that's inspiration will get them on a course to eventually change their life. And to me, that's what it's all about. It's changing lives, it's impacting lives, it's helping people, and that's why I do what I do.
Yeah. So the world's changing. 30 years ago doesn't look like 20 years ago, doesn't look like 10 years ago, doesn't look like 5 years ago. So
Yep.
when you're talking about being a connector and actually connecting on a deeper level in a world dominated by digital communication, what are your top tips for breaking through barriers and forming authentic, meaningful connections?
I'd say it's the two things, two of the four pillars that I speak about. Number one is being authentic. It's we talked about a little bit, leading with those vulnerabilities, those insecurities, leading that will break barriers down. And again, it's a social media post, whether it's a video, whether it's a connect call, or you're meeting somebody at a traditional networking meeting, break walls down with that, and then being others focused. One of the most important things is ditch the pitch, right? Stop the pitch slapping. Let's just look at being others focused and add value. And if you can go into a conversation or some type of communication where you're looking at ways to help them versus helping yourself, you're going to see the walls come down, and you'll create real, true human connection.
It's becoming a trope in every one of the interviews I do, where everybody's at the same level, where we're understanding a fundamental human law where you help enough people, the Zig Ziglar, help enough people get what you want, you'll get what you want. Go
That's
back to the
absolutely right.
Bible, you reap what you sow. Go back to karma.
Correct.
It's not new. We're not
Yeah.
discovering something. It's just we're utilizing human law, nature. So that's awesome. So is there anything that I failed to ask that maybe you wanted to mention that maybe people really need to hear?
I think I want to just say, listen, you're amazing. If you're listening to this, yes, I may not know you. I hope to know you. I hope you connect with me. I hope we get to have a conversation. But you're amazing. I want you to know that. And yeah, I don't know you, but there's a seed of greatness within you, and all you got to do is tap into that and know that you're valuable. And when you go to out to the world, and whether it be virtually, digitally, or in real life, understand you add value and you have a gift to give. You've got a story to tell, and but you need to believe that people need to hear your story. And so just know that. And if you're not super confident, then do what I did, which is start reading a bunch of books. Like I probably go through two books a month, no doubt, right? And I do it, and that's just filled me with so much good stuff that I believe that when I'm in a room, the room is better because I'm there. And that's not ego thing. You need to feel that way as well. So I want you to know, if you're listening to this, you need to feel that way too.
Also, you're an author of a book. It's the Tao of the Master Connector. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean that's been a labor of love. I mean, it's a great book. It does speak on the four pillars I spoke about, right? Being authentic, being others focused, having grit, and building community, growing connections. I've got some incredible leaders that do little pieces of introductions to each of those categories, as well as a few other categories beyond the four pillars. It's parables and stories of an introvert from the Bronx, from the inner city of New York, that went on to be a master connector, right? And the subtext, it's called, yeah, the Tao of a master connector, but it's the way, because Tao means way. The way an introvert became a master connector. So it's really, I think it's a great book. The feedback I get is people love it because it's not like where you have to read it all the way through. You can and you should, but you could open up a page, and then the little segments and snippets that each, so you could just open a page randomly and go, and you get like a little nugget for the day. And there's some quotes in there and some graphics in there, and so I think people get a lot of great value out of it. And again, I wrote it knowing that, listen, if I could do this shy, introverted, very wounded guy growing up can become a master connector. Anyone can. And my hope and prayer is that whoever reads it will be inspired and know that they could do it too.
Okay. Where's the best place people can find this?
It's on Amazon. I think hopefully you'll be able to put the link, but it's on Amazon if you want to get it as digital, or you want to get the paper book copy. It's also available on Audible as well. I believe if you go into Amazon and search the Tao of a Master Connector or Steve Spiro, I think it'll come right up right pretty easily. So, but I love that. And if you do get the book, I'd love to hear some feedback on it for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll be sure to put that in the links. Everybody should probably check it out. There's a wealth of knowledge just by speaking with you. I can only imagine how much is there if you spent the time to put it on page. So I'm looking
I
forward to it.
appreciate it. Yeah, no doubt. Thank you.
What's the best way for people to reach you, to connect with you, or to hear more from you?
Best way, simple way, is to go to LinkedIn. If you type in Steve Spiro, it's going to show up number one. I don't know. I've done well, I guess, with search engine optimization on LinkedIn. So Steve Spiro will show up, the master connector. You could also go to stevespiro.com, STEVESPIRO.com. General, it's like a digital business card with a lot of links to a lot of things. But if you want to hire me as a speaker, best place is spiro-global.com. And if you want to learn about our show, the Master Connector Show on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. EST, go to masterconnector.show. So those are some best ways to get a hold of me for sure. And I would love to connect with you. And know this, if you do connect with me on LinkedIn, you're going to get a message saying we should jump on a call. So if you don't want that to happen, don't connect with me on LinkedIn. All right.
Perfect, perfect. I recommend you do though. Have that call, talk with Steve. You're going to walk away better than before you met him. That's for sure. But if you are a little bit more shy and you prefer a three-way introduction, feel free to leverage me as well. Send me a message. I'll be more than happy to make an introduction for you. If somebody out there would like to be interviewed, would like to speak with me, I'll also have, on top of Steve's links in the bio, I'll have mine as well. You can meet with me there. But otherwise, I really appreciate your time, Steve. I really appreciate you coming on, pouring into all of us. I'm gonna have to go back and watch this again just to take some notes, because there's a lot of good stuff in there, and I wanted to give you my full attention. But that's the beauty of these things. You can go back, you can reread books, you can rewatch videos, and you can get different things from them every time. But other than that, Steve, again, I really appreciate you coming on. Let's all get out there and connect with more people. All right.